Hi there. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know it's been a while and I've had to cancel a couple of times, but I'm glad you're here tonight with me. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. So tonight we're going to talk about boundaries. There are all different types of boundaries, right? There are physical boundaries. So for instance, if your boundary is not everyone likes to be hugged or touched, or even like to shake hands even. So those are just physical boundaries, right? So we have those type of boundaries. We have emotional boundaries where they may be crossed if someone just doesn't really care about your emotions, kind of pushes them off and says, like, oh, get over it, or, things like that. There's also intellectual boundaries where they could be, if someone's like dismissing you, dismissive of your ideas or your thoughts, those are intellectual boundaries. Sexual boundaries, probably, what that means. Just, they, again, just unwanted touch or even comments. Some people don't even like sexual comments to be made, and those are boundaries that could be crossed. Material boundaries. So for instance, if you are, basically your belongings, your money, things like that. So somebody may ask to borrow your car, and that's fine if it's somebody and trust, but someone you just met this morning wants to borrow your car, probably not, right? That's crossing that boundary for you. And then there's time boundaries. Time boundaries can refer to, I think, a couple of things. One is, all of our time is precious. Like, we all are very busy, we all have things to do. So, making sure you're making time for the special people in your life and, your work and everything that we have to do. You're just making time for that. But taking too much time from somebody that, if you have one person that's really kind of sucking up all your time, that could be crossing a boundary for you as well. So those are just some boundaries, right? I'll just go over them briefly again. There's your physical boundaries, your intellectual boundaries, emotional boundaries, sexual boundaries, and time boundaries. So that just explains briefly, and I'm sure we all kind of know where we lie with some of those boundaries. So to talk a little bit more in depth about it, boundaries, they could be very open, they could be very closed, or they could be very healthy, which is kind of right in the middle. So, and it may be that you have different boundaries for different people in your life, and that's very normal because we trust people that we're closer to, more than maybe strangers we meet. And so it's okay for them to vary, whether your boundaries are very open or very closed. A way to think about it is that you, the person, are like a house, and what is around your house? What's surrounding that house? Do you have a brick fence that's 10 feet tall and no one's seeing anything beyond that fence? So no one's basically getting in. You have very rigid, strong boundaries there. Like you don't let anybody in, which isn't healthy. But anyways, some of us have those very strong boundaries. Some of us might have a fence, which, it protects you, but it's not anything you can't get through. Like, you can open it, close it, and come in and out and things like that. And that's probably a more healthy boundary. And then some of us have maybe a gate or nothing around our house, right? Those are very open boundaries. So the gate you can see right through. You can put your hands through the circles if you have small hands. You can jump over that gate and get right in. And those are, like I said, open boundaries. So those are the different types of boundaries. They're actually called porous or open, rigid or closed, and then healthy boundaries is where you kind of meet right in the middle. So obviously most of us, we want to strive for the healthy boundary where, we're able to kind of meet people in the middle. But basically how boundaries work is that you teach people how to treat you. So for instance, if you're someone who's a people pleaser, then you don't have very good boundaries at all. And that comes from other issues, just being a people pleaser. But as far as boundaries, if you're a people pleaser, you have very open boundaries. So you're going to find that people ask a lot of you very often because they know you're going to say yes. They know you have a hard time saying no. So even if you can't do it, you'll find a way to do it. And they know that. So people tend to take advantage of you if you have those very open boundaries. Again, borrowing money from you, borrowing your car, asking you to do things for them, constantly, maybe a little more than just the occasional favor. So you just have very open boundaries, and those people, like I say, tend to walk all over you, and that's not a good feeling. You tend to feel resentment, but you'll never say it because your boundaries are too open. So if someone asks you for something, you're going to do it with a smile and think, I'm doing something really good, and they're going to probably praise you and say, thank you so much, I couldn't have done this without you, you saved me, all these things. But really it's kind of manipulating. But again, you just want to be the one in charge of how people are treating you. So having those open boundaries, and I used to be that way, and I guess I know why now, but I used to be that way. And again, it's because, it feels good when people are saying, oh, thank you, you helped me so much, thank you for doing that. When deep down inside, maybe I really didn't have time to do that, or I just didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. So there's a lot of resentment that can build up, and, that's not healthy nor fun. So you want to just keep an eye out for, those very open boundaries. And then on the flip side, for your very closed or rigid boundaries, these people are, as you can imagine, the opposite. So they can be more kind of come across as like a bully. So, very strong-headed. They're not going to listen to other people's opinions. They're going to not care what anybody says. They're just very closed off. Nothing really matters. They're just, I think bullying is a good word to describe it. And you don't get very close to those people because they're very closed off. So you're not going to really know who they are, what they're all about. They're not going to tell you any secrets or anything to make them vulnerable. They're going to stay pretty, headstrong and strong to make sure they always get their way. And again, that's not healthy either. So what do we want? We just want regular, healthy boundaries, right? So, you're not oversharing with people. You're kind of, as you gain trust with people, then you tell them more. We all probably have like a best friend out there. That friend that we have probably knows a whole lot about us. But maybe people at work that we just see, we see, but we're always working. We're not super close with them. They may know some things, but not a lot of things, right? Just because the relationship is different. So with healthy boundary, you're going to find that those probably like what you could envision as with your best friend, someone that you can share things with on a deeper level because you have that trust with them. And when you have that trust with them, you feel safe with them. That's a very key word. You feel very safe with them. So you're going to feel safe in sharing and also accept what they have to say. So even if it's negative, it's okay because you know that they love you, they care about you, and they just want what's best for you. So they're going to help you. Whereas if you have someone who's rigid boundaries telling you those things, they're probably going to be very harsh. It's probably not someone you're close with, and you're probably going to shut down. So there's just so much to boundaries. So, so many things, so many different things we could talk about. But I stress about them a lot just because I've been there where I had super open boundaries with a lot of people, whether I knew them well or didn't. I was just always trying to be like helpful and nice and I don't know, all these things. Not saying that I'm not or I didn't do it. I was never any ill intent. But now when I look back, I think, oh, wow, yeah, I was just doing that because in the end, it made me feel better because I was not feeling well in other areas of my life. So that was one area I could somewhat control that I felt, was somehow lifting me up. But really, it was unhealthy in the way I was getting that. I hope this makes sense, but it was unhealthy that way. So what we want to strive for is that very healthy boundary where we are telling other people how to treat us, not just letting people walk all over us, treat us how they want to. So when you have very healthy boundaries, you're able to communicate. We'll go into that maybe next time we talk, next Thursday, and communication styles that go right along with these boundaries. And you'll see what I mean when we talk about that next week. So with healthy boundaries, you're able to communicate with someone nicely. You're not raising your voice, you're not yelling, you're just simply communicating what your needs are. And then again, if you have that open boundary, you don't say a word. You just you're like a yes person, right? Just yes, 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 I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. And you take way too much on and you're not communicating anything. That's where that resentment comes in because you're holding it in and keeping it in. And then on the flip side, just briefly, we'll talk about this more next time, but on the rigid side, you have very aggressive communication. So again, you're like pretty bossy, demanding, telling people, what to do, how to do it, not listening at all to what they have to say. So you're really belittling them. You're doing a lot of other things as well. You're probably crossing many other boundaries with that aggressive boundary or closed or rigid boundary. So if you have any questions, just let me know. We will probably talk about boundaries throughout these little talks because it's something that's very important that we always have to maintain and really keep in mind, in the forefront of our mind, because if we don't, it's easy to kind of let that go. But the more mindful you are of something, the more you pay attention to it, the more you're going to put more energy and work towards that. So it is important to remember your boundaries and kind of figure out where you want to be, how you want to be treated. We all want to be treated well, with dignity and respect. So just keep that in mind, and we'll talk a little bit more next time. If you have any questions, just let me know.